After my dad picked me up following the end of my shift today at Wegmans, he put my air conditioning unit back in my room. And as of now, this room is currently on the cool side. This room is currently a little cool. But still comfortable. My shift today was from 2:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Which meant that I closed today along with another coworker. That I'm pretty familiar with at this point, relatively. Relatively familiar with compared to other coworkers. As he had the same end time. $8 p.m. is when the produce department closes, so $7 to 8 p.m. is closing time. Hence why pretty much at the very beginning of my shift, I asked if it would be alright if I took my 15-minute break my 15-minute break for today at the time I usually do it, for a 5.5-hour shift, for which I get one 15-minute break that I take at the last half hour of my shift, in this case 7:30 p.m., and I was told that would be fine. By the coworker that I closed with. He transferred the produce from the front displays to the bulk wall of the produce department. While I put the kind of plastic netting-ish tarps, black tarps, over the potato products, except for the yams or sweet potatoes, since I was told by that same coworker that they don't need to be covered by those tarps. In total, only 4 tarps were needed. That was all there was in those bins. I mean, that plastic bin. That clear plastic bin. I recall during my shift, throughout it, I restocked the banana section a few times from being, I would say, somewhere between 60% barren to 40% barren each time, to the point where I reloaded the banana runner twice. Putting on 3 stacks of 4 banana boxes each time. With the last time being around, being within 15 minutes before 7 p.m. That was when I reloaded the banana runner for the second time, and that was how I got this little cut or scrape. Each pallet of full banana boxes typically has these 4 plastic corner things that are meant to hold the plastic straps in place. And these plastic straps hold the full banana boxes within the pallet. At one point, these 4 plastic corner things were bent so that the very top end was facing downward, kind of like this in a way, and I accidentally hit the top end of one of those plastic corner things. I also see them within the banana boxes themselves sometimes, though in that case they're smaller to be inside the banana box itself. In this case, they're meant to keep any corners of the banana box from being dented. When I hit the top side of that plastic corner thing, even though it hurt moderately for about 30 seconds or so, I at first didn't see any sign of there being any injury. So I was relieved. I looked for any sign of an injury right away because I felt that moderate pain. Then the pain stopped, or at least greatly diminished. But then a bit after that, I suddenly noticed it. I guess a bit of blood was drawn, just enough that I could see where the small cut or scrape was. Though I would say it's more of a cut. I looked for a nearby coworker and got the attention. Ended up getting the attention of the same coworker that I close with today. He told me to go to the break room bathroom to clean out the little cut. And so I ended up taking roughly 5 minutes to apply pressure using the hand on my other arm. And I not only washed out the little cut with warm/hot water and soap, but I also did the same with my hands. Then after about 10 minutes to wait for the area to dry, I went into the big first aid kit mounted to a wall within the section of the employees only warehouse dedicated to the produce department. I wiped the area with an antibacterial towelette and then put on that band-aid you saw earlier in this video. and kept it on for the rest of my shift. During my shift, it seems I've focused a large amount of my time on restocking the banana section. At one point, I tried to do that. I think roughly from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., though it took so long for me to restock the banana section at that time, since it seemed a considerable amount of passing customers got my attention to ask if we had a specific product they were looking for within the produce department. And in a few cases, that product wouldn't be on the floor, so I would look for it in the back or the employees only, within the employees only warehouse dedicated for the produce department. I would find it, bring it out onto the floor of the produce department. At one point, I brought out 2 boxes of plantains, even though at the time there were plantains out on the floor. It's just that the customer who got my attention at that time, she was looking for plantains that were green or less ripe than what was out at the time. The first box I brought out was more of what was already out, because typically if a customer asked for a specific product and it turned out that product wasn't on the floor or what they were looking for, the exact condition wasn't out on the floor, I had to go to the back to get it. And I found what they were looking for. Afterwards, I would use what I got to restock that product at its dedicated section. So I was thinking more about that rather than checking the condition of the plantains in the box when I brought out the first box. But then when I went back to get a second box, then I did look at the plantains condition, and then it turned out to be the green, not as ripe plantains that the customer was looking for, and she was happy mildly happy when I brought out that second box and unwrapped the plastic wrapping to show what was inside. My dad went grocery shopping during the last half hour of my shift at the Wegmans I work at, and a box of Heath Klondike bars was part of the groceries he got. Along with the sausage I had. Just now. Not too long ago. When I took my 15-minute break at 7:30 p.m., I had 2 cold-cut sandwiches that my dad made for me, along with some carrots, 2 of the Santa Cruz or oatmeal raisin cookies by Pepper Ridge Farms, and a 16-ounce bottle, my usual, of Upstate Farms branded whole milk. At 11:30 in the morning, I had my first cup of plain coffee for today, with the remaining half of the last classic square donut my dad got from the Salty Bread Pizza Cafe after he said I could have that. I recall having 2 cups of coffee from 11:30 in the morning to 1 p.m., though that was out of the good morning cup that I had roughly 2 full cups of plain coffee out of, so that may have been equivalent to 3 to 4 standard cups of coffee. I recall waking up to the 11 in the morning alarm I set on my laptop using a third-party website after going to bed and going to bed around 5 in the morning and making serious efforts to fall asleep around 5:30 in the morning and falling asleep around 6 in the morning. I recall not long before I went to bed today, I tried to go on Iron Rage on Congregate as I tried opening the launcher downloaded onto my laptop for Iron Rage during the first few hours of today, and it seems when I try to open the launcher, it opens either an AliExpress window or a window for Google. Though it did turn out going on server A, as it's now called, worked just fine. Though I can't really tell 100% for sure if I'm leaving off before I downloaded the launcher, probably more than a year ago, or if I'm being left off where when I last opened the launcher and logged in, probably at least 3 months ago. Right now, I'm deciding that I'm leaning towards me leaving off when I last opened the launcher. It all felt a little surreal to me. And there was a point in which I thought that Iron Rage, the servers had been shut down. Though thankfully that turned out to not be the case. I should probably uninstall the Iron Rage launcher at this point, since, based on what I observed, it seems to no longer work, and it seems at this time to be not necessary, since Iron Rage is working again on my browser on Congregate. I recall from my shift at Wegmans today, I most often restocked the banana section of the produce department, followed by the hard items section, which is where our various potatoes and onions are, and also a bit of garlic and shallots. And then, due to passing customers getting my attention and asking if we had specific products, I restocked the bulk wall of the produce department, which is on the right side, from the perspective of looking towards the front of the produce department at the back of the produce department. And I restocked a little also the front section of the produce department, from which you'll find various fruits, such as grapes, tomatoes, and apples, and also pears.